Can I get an E from somebody? Just a vibe, please. God, we welcome you into this room. We welcome you into the living rooms and bedrooms and car rooms. I know that you show up wherever we are, and I certainly need that this morning. So we ask you to come, give us a sense that you're here wherever we are. I want us to start off, whether you're online or you're here. I always say we got an opportunity this morning. We can either be entertained and tantalized, or we can connect with God. And you don't have to know God to connect with Him. You don't have to have been done things right this week. All you have to do is have a desire. And that is enough. So if you have a desire to connect with God, whether you're in your living room or here, I want to encourage you to push into that this morning. And I find one of the best ways to do that is just to let go. Let go of your preconceived notions, your expectations in your life. Whether you've got expectations in your business, your relationships, your kids. I know I have high expectations in all of those. So every day I have to go back and let go of those things and give God control again. If I can remember to do it. So I'd like you to close your eyes or find a spot that you feel comfortable and let Him know that you release those things to Him this morning. The outcomes. And that takes trust. But I guess I would say, what do you have to lose, right? If God is real, if He really made you, if He really cares about us, then giving Him that control is only going to be good for you. Even if it hurts, even if there's pain involved in that. But He left us some indications about what He wants for us. Psalm 23 says, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. You make me to lie down in green pastures. You lead me beside still waters. You restore my soul. You lead me in paths of righteousness for your name's sake. And even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So God, we ask you to come this morning. Be with us. We want to focus on you. We release our control. You are my shepherd, I shall not want. You make me lie down in green pastures, and you lead me beside still waters. You restore my soul. You lead me in paths of righteousness for your name's sake. Let's sing that again to him. You are. 'Cause you are my shepherd, I shall not want. You make me lie down in green pastures. You lead me beside still waters. You restore my soul. You lead me in paths of righteousness for your name's sake. Even though God, we ask for some comfort this morning. We ask for some guidance, your guiding hand, your leadership in our lives. Shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever, forever. Oh Sometimes I feel perfect. Sometimes I am ashamed. Sometimes I am so grateful. Sometimes there's too much pain, but you turn it all to beautiful. You turn it into beauty. Yeah, you turn it all to beautiful, and you do it all for me. Sometimes I feel you leaving. Sometimes you far away. Sometimes I feel like laughing. Sometimes I am afraid, but you turn it all to beautiful. Yeah, you turn it into yeah, you turn it all to beautiful, and you do it all for me. Help me see, so that I can find your love, your light, transcends these times. Help me see, so that I can find your love, your light, transcends these times. You turn it all to beautiful. You turn it yeah, you turn it all to beautiful, and you do it all for me. They turn it all to beautiful. You turn it all to beautiful. You turn it all to beautiful. Even when I don't see it, even when it hurts like hell, even when I'm scared to death, Yeah, you turn it all to beautiful. Yeah, you turn it all to beautiful. Yeah, you turn it all to beautiful. Ooh. God, we breathe you in this morning. You make up the very fabric of our being, underneath our cells and our atoms, and the space between. We release our control. And turn our eyes to you. Fresh cry, you're my living God. Your spirit's water for my soul. I've tasted and I've seen. Come once again to me. I will draw near to you. Fresh cry out, for you are the living God. Your spirit's the water for my soul. I've tasted and I've seen. Come once again to me. I will draw near to you. I will draw near to you. I will draw near.
Thank you, Casey. Thank you, Resonate guys. Wonderful to be with everyone here this morning. And we thank you for being here with us in person and online. We're very appreciative of your support, everything you've been doing to be with us. My name's Kevin. I'm one of the pastors here. And one of the things we're going to do that we haven't done in quite a while, we're going to do what we used to call the old meet and greet, but we're going to do it the 2020 COVID version. We're just going to have you just kind of keep your mask on, stay where you are, and say hi to somebody next to you. Just kind of turn around, do the hey, maybe do the point, the nod, the thing like that. Smiles are going to be tough, we know that. If you're online, we want you to go ahead and say hey to us. Give us a shout on Facebook, on YouTube, whatever it may be. Maybe if you wanted to yell the fence to your neighbor, say hi to them as well. But we're so thankful you're here with us this morning. I also want to give a shout out to a team that has been working very, very hard these last 6.5 months to bring you these services, to do what we've been doing, and that's the Tech Arts team. Yeah, we've been making so many changes every week. We've revamped, redesigned, done all these different things, and we've done all this with a team that's got a great spirit, a great heart, up top, backstage, and everything else. So we're just so thankful for them, and we're thankful for you all. You want to clap again? Go ahead, clap again. Yeah. We're thankful for you all as well, for your support, for the way that you've been supporting us, honestly keeping the lights on in a lot of ways and allowing this equipment to keep working and everything else. It's because of your support, your giving, that we've been able to do that. So if you're here today, there are the boxes on the mezzanine if you'd like to give that way. Of course, online, that's riverbend.com/give. You can always mail your support as well. That is helping us do what we do here on Sundays, and we're still feeding thousands of people at our South Austin and East Austin Neighborhood Development Centers. So thank you very much, everyone here, online. And we've got a ways to go still, but you've been tremendous in your support. So let's pray together and thank God for what he's done for us. Lord, each one of us here this morning, whether in person or online, we know that, Lord, you've brought us through some very difficult times. And we're so thankful for the blessings you've given each one of us and our families. And allow us to bring some goodness to other people that are in a difficult situation. It's going to continue for some. We want to just keep giving them the support and the love that they need. So we ask you to take the gifts that we've got this morning and to multiply them for your good works. We pray all of this in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.
It's time to take a stand. I know that's a risky thing to say because we are living in activist times. We're living in a culture that has incendiary passions and explosive beliefs. We are seeing all around us the opinions of others engaging in hostile and brutal accusations and dialogues, and we're seeing our society pulling itself apart. And it's hard to engage and to say, we need to take a stand, and to say, I want to put myself in the middle of it. Because when you do, you will find yourself on the front line of the conversation, of the protests. And when you do, you perhaps find yourself confronting people who are carrying signs that say something like this: everything is broken, that say, nothing matters anymore. Or perhaps you'll see this kind of sentiment: God doesn't care. But the reason I'm asking you to take a stand, I'm inviting you to stand with me, is not because of what I'm asking you to stand for, but where I'm asking you to stand. Because the what is not as important as the where, because where we need to make our stand is exactly between here and here. It's time to take a stand for how we think and to take a stand in our mind. Because I think we are all aware that we are victimized by bullying protests that erupt unannounced in our thoughts. We're all familiar with how we can be thinking one thing and suddenly, all of a sudden, our thoughts are taken over, are interrupted by unwanted, uninvited, unhealthy thoughts. They're the thoughts that bring us anxiety and worry and doubt and fear. They're the voices that say it's not going to get any better. It's only going to get worse. It doesn't matter what you do. It's not going to make a difference. They're the corrosive, destructive thoughts of self-loathing and self-hatred that say, you don't matter. Why do you even bother? Why do you even try? You're such an idiot. How could I be so stupid? How could I think that my life was going to amount to anything? They're those lustful thoughts, those greedy, selfish thoughts that push us right over the edge, and we find ourselves falling into phonely. Phonely is that thought pattern where we think, if only I had more money, if only I had a different boyfriend, if only I wasn't so clumsy, if only I had more money, if only I had a different life, if only, if only, if only. And these interruptions, these intellectual, mental protests march in unannounced, uninvited, and unwelcome. And they're corrosive and destructive to our souls. But it's my prayer today that we would take a stand and that we might participate in a demonstration of something better. You know the difference between a protest and a demonstration? A protest is something that identifies what's wrong, something that needs to be corrected, something that needs to be changed in the culture, in the community, in the society, in the values of a people. A protest highlights the things that are broken, the things that need to be fixed. On the other hand, a demonstration demonstrates that there is a better way, that there is a different path, that there are other options. If you just change on the exterior, if just the circumstances change, even though they require change and they require to be adjusted, you can simply change things on the outside and not change anything on the inside. And what you wind up with is cultural virtue signaling and a hollow, insincere appearance of change. You may say, well, Dave, you're just splitting hairs. You're just playing word games, dividing between a protest and a demonstration. But I would suggest that there's a significant difference between the two, an important difference. And if we're going to take a stand, we are taking a stand and making a demonstration. Because a protest encourages us to change from the outside in. But a demonstration encourages us to change from the inside out, to change our hearts and our minds and our souls and say there is a better way. This is not only good strategy, it's good theology. I think the Bible is calling us to demonstrate a better way. The Bible invites us to experience a better path, a better idea, a better plan. In fact, if you look through the pages of the Bible, there are invitations and encouragements, commands to demonstrate a better way, to be a part of that demonstration, to take that stand. Perhaps one of the most famous is Paul's encouragement in Romans chapter 12, where he says, I urge you, therefore, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice. And this is a holy act. It's a holy act of worship, and it's pleasing to God. And you are to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And this is how you will demonstrate. This is how you will prove the better way. This is how you will prove what God's intent and design is. to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. This is exactly what we've been talking about for the last few weeks. We've been talking about a single sentence. If you are so inclined to memorize Bible verses, I would recommend memorizing Philippians 4:8, putting it in your mind. Philippians 4:8 is an encouragement to be transformed from the inside out. Finally, the bottom line, Paul says, my brothers and sisters, is that whatever is true, and whatever is respectable, and whatever is right, and whatever is pure, and whatever is lovely, and whatever is admirable, and if there is anything that is worthy of outstanding recognition, think about such things. Today we come to the middle adjective of the 7 adjectives in Philippians 4:8. Think about that which is pure. If there is a battleground, if there is a front line in the battle for our minds, it's the battle to think about things that are pure. And we know what purity is. We understand purity as a concept. We understand it even if we don't know technically what it is. I mean, can you really explain to me what 100% virgin olive oil is? Is that olives picked by virgins? Is that some kind of olives grown by virgins? Is it olives strictly for virgins who are 100% pure? I don't know, but we know that it's just plain olive oil. It's pure, it's undiluted, it's uncompromised, it's unmixed. We understand the purity of the giggle of an infant, of a beautiful newly fallen snow, of a sunrise over an open ocean. We understand the purity of the smell of bacon in the morning. We understand the purity of a professional golfer's swing. We understand that there are some things that are pure accidents because they have no rational explanation. We understand there are some things that are pure joy because they're uncompromised. They're unmixed with anything but pleasure and happiness and joy. We understand that a purebred dog is uncompromised in its genetics and its genealogy. We understand what purity is. The word here in Philippians chapter 4, verse 8 for pure is the word agnos. And agnos etymologically is related to the word agia or hagia, and it's the word for holy. And the word agia is scattered throughout the Bible. It's virtually on every page. But the word agnos is rare because the word agnos basically is describing how it feels when you see something that's holy. It's something that inspires awe. The word agnos is this idea of something that you see that is unique. You know you're never going to see anything like that again. Liturgically, the word agnos describes something that is sacred, something that is consecrated, something that is holy, set aside for a special use, for a unique purpose. It's a one-of-a-kind thing. It's kind of like this tool right here. Does anybody know what this is? There's got to be a couple people in here who know what this is. Yeah, it's a steering wheel puller or a gear puller or a bearing puller. You can't cut wood with it. This is not a handy kitchen tool with which I guess you could whip something in it. You can't comb your hair with it. Don't brush your teeth with it. It has a singular purpose. That's what it means to be holy. That's what it means to be sacred. That's what it means to be agnos. It's set apart for a reason. It's kind of like the guest towels in your guest bathroom. I mean, I learned the hard way when I was a kid that the guest towels were holy. I mean, we had a bathroom next to our garage, and I remember running in one day. I had gotten a bloody nose or something, and I was running in through the laundry room, and the bathroom was next to the laundry room, and I'm running in to get a towel, and my mother's like, David, where are you going? She wasn't concerned that I was hemorrhaging blood out of my nose. She was concerned that I would run into the guest bathroom and grab a guest towel. and rub my non-guest blood onto it. You would have think I was about to violate the Geneva Convention or kick a kitten or something. Don't use that towel. I'm like, Mom! It's set aside for a special purpose, and we know that it's different, that it's unique, that it's sacred. When the march comes in and the protests tell us that you don't matter and your life doesn't amount to anything, we think about that which is pure. We go a different way. Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, what is he talking about? I am so confused right now. You lost me at that crazy tool. I mean, agnos, snognos, what is that word? I got to go get a cup of coffee. I know if you're online, you're probably thinking, oh, okay, you're falling asleep on the sofa. This whole thing is just basically white noise while you make breakfast. I can tell through your masks. You're yawning, you're bored, you're like, why do I even bother? Why do I do this? What difference does it make? Nobody listens to me. It's a futile effort. David, why do you even imagine that anybody would listen to an old, funny-looking bald guy? Why do you even think these things? Why do you think you can make a difference? That's how quick it happens. It's like we get onto a freeway, and before we know it, we're traveling down a road we had no intention of being on. So how do we do it? How do we change course? How do we when the protests arise and the criticism and the corrosive thoughts just take over our mind, how do we stand? How do we take a stand? I want to suggest that we have two resources. All of us do. All of us have two very simple resources, and they may sound cliche, but the first resource all of us have is a neurological resource. Does everybody know who the Navy SEALs are? Everybody know Navy SEALs? Familiar? Navy SEALs? Bunch of badass soldiers. We know the Navy SEALs, and what are they famous for? They're famous for the intensity of their training program. It's so intense that even if you want to become a Navy SEAL and go through the training process, their training to be selected to get into the training process is a difficult task. But if you're invited to become a Navy SEAL, you enter into a training program that lasts over a year. One of the early phases is a 24-week phase called Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL Training, or BUDS. In the 24 weeks of BUDS, of the Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL Training, they have 7 weeks that are set aside for rigorous physical conditioning. In the middle of those 7 weeks, there's a week that all of the SEALs identify as the most difficult physical week in their training, and they call it Hell Week. It is a week that is designed to push the trainees right to the edge of death. If they go one more step, it could prove fatal, but they find out exactly where their physical limits are. For an entire week, they're literally pushed right to the edge. During that week, the trainees will probably get only a little more than 4 hours of sleep for the entire week. But if you talk to any Navy SEAL operator, virtually all of them will tell you that what is most important was not the physical training that they received, but the mental training. Because even though their bodies were pushed to the limit, it was their mind that was being changed. And if you do a neurological study of a trainee before he enters into SEAL training and after he exits SEAL training, he will literally have a different brain. Because this isn't just good military tactics, this is good science. Because neuroscientists have discovered that our brains have something called neuroplasticity. And neuroplasticity means that we can change our brains by changing our minds. We can use our minds to change our brains. I read a lot about it over the last few weeks, and one of the most helpful books that I read was one of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology's Essential Knowledge series. They have these little pamphlets if you want to get acquainted with some very sophisticated scientific concepts. They have a series of books, and they have one on neuroplasticity. And this is how it describes it scientifically. It says 60 years ago, the idea that nervous tissue can change was anathema to neuroscience. It was widely believed that the mature brain is a fixed structure. This dogma has been overturned by a huge body of research which shows that the brain changes throughout life. Neuroplasticity is a catch-all term referring to the many different ways in which the nervous system can change. Far from being fixed, the brain is a highly dynamic structure which undergoes significant change not only as it develops, but also throughout the entire lifespan. You can use your mind to change your brain. When you are interrupted by the bullies of protest, when you are take a wrong turn in your thoughts, it is possible for you to change your mind. It's like you're building roads inside of your brain, and they start out because they're infrequent paths through the jungle, but the more that you travel down them, neuroplasticity tells us that you can actually pave them over and then eventually build them up into interstate, limited access freeways. And that we can all do this. None of us are too old. There is no such thing that a dog is too old to learn new tricks. Now, there are mitigating factors for sure. To be sure, there are, when you're younger, it's easier. I mean, I remember picking up and being fluent in Spanish when I was a teenager after one semester of living in South America. I'm trying to learn Italian now, and it's murder. It's awful. You know, the chi and the chi and the ch and the I know spizzola, that's toothbrush. I got that. But it's harder when we're older, and there are biological considerations, and there are psychological and psychiatric considerations, and there are different people behave in different ways. In fact, neuroscientists tell us that neuroplasticity itself can be a hindrance to change, because once you mold your brain in a certain way, it's really hard to change it differently, but it can be done. All of us have an amazing, remarkable computer sitting between our ears. And it doesn't tell us what to think. We tell it what to think. We all have a neurological resource that allows us to take a stand when the interruptions and the corrosives and the impure thoughts would take over our minds. The first resource we all have is neurological. The second resource we have is what I call neurospiritual. I made that word up. It's not really a word. But from what we know about neurology and neuroplasticity, you know what is amazing? Is prayer. You know what I mean when I say neurospiritual? I mean all of us have the ability, the opportunity, the invitation to pray. The more we know about neuroscience, the more God looks like a genius in providing us with the encouragement, the invitation, the instruction, and the example to pray. And we can all do it. All of us can do it. Even the only guy who never needed to pray, Jesus himself prayed all the time, because prayer changes us. Prayer has a transforming power. And when the protests arise and the corrosive thoughts enter our mind, it is possible for us to have a conversation with God and stand our ground. Now, you don't have to take my word for it. You can take the word of others. In fact, I'd like for you to hear a word from one of our women's ministry leaders. Her name is Stephanie Rollins. Stephanie grew up in the Rio Grande Valley in Brownsville, and she is a graduate of the University of Texas School of Law. After she graduated from law school, she went back to the Valley, back to Brownsville, and became an assistant district attorney in Cameron County. While she was a prosecutor in Cameron County, she began the child abuse unit in the sex crimes division of the Cameron County Prosecutor's Office. She worked in that job until she received a promotion to become a full-time mom and moved to Austin and found Riverbend. Stephanie Rollins has seen some things, and Stephanie Rollins has done some things. And Stephanie Rollins has learned some things about prayer and the transforming power of it. And I'd like for you to hear from her this morning. Would you welcome Stephanie Rollins this morning?
I can think of very few things more intimidating than being introduced like that by Dr. Dave Haney, or by being invited to share his stage. The truth is, all of this happens in my head all the time. In fact, when I did pass the bar exam, I thought they'd made some sort of mistake. I checked my email for months, thinking surely they're going to communicate to me any day now that I'm not qualified to practice law. And my partner and I, when we would go to court, we used to joke that we felt like we were little girls wearing our parents' suits. I never felt qualified to advocate for those kids. The truth is, most of us don't feel qualified to face what we face. When they first handed me my first newborn and they told me I was a parent, I didn't feel qualified for that. Or when I stood in front of my husband, Derek, and said, "I do," to forever, I didn't feel qualified for that. But what I have learned is that the moments I am in over my head, like right now, it is a time to pull God so close. In 2014, I had 2 kids under the age of 5 and a full-time career, and I felt completely overwhelmed. And my husband really wanted a 3rd baby, and it was not going to happen. I didn't want that. I was spread so thin. I couldn't see how I could have another human to care for. But the reality is I had 2 kind of traumatic childbirths, and I just really didn't want to go down that road again. Why risk it when you've got 2 healthy kids? So finally, one day, after months and months of Derek asking for a 3rd, I decided to pray about it. And I prayed about it in my bathtub, which is where I do a lot of my heavy thinking and heavy prayer time. And I prayed what every woman here would completely understand. God, change Derek's mind. But he didn't change Derek's mind. He really gently changed my heart. Because what he showed me in that time was that the reason I didn't want a 3rd child was entirely based in fear. See, y'all may not know this about me, but I battle fear and anxiety all the time. That voice that says I'm not qualified. But God showed me that fear isn't something that comes from him. And so before I could chicken out, I wrapped up in a towel and I tracked wet footprints through our house to tell Derek that it was going to be his decision after all. But that was really just the start of that journey, because then I had to walk it out. Every day being afraid. If you've had a kid, you know it's like you get on a train and you're not going to get off this train. This is going to end only one way, having this kid. But I invited God to join me on that train. See, when I pray, something kind of miraculous happens. God gets closer. And he gives me a little bit of his courage and a little bit of his strength and his joy. And he carries part of my burden with me. And he reminds me and reassures me that I'm not doing it alone. Anything we face is something that is faced better, in my opinion, with prayer. And I want you guys to remind me of that should the day come that he tells me I'm having a fourth child, which I hope is not the case. But I'll turn it back over to Dave.
Thank you, Stephanie. Now, it's possible for you to think right now, of course that works for her. I mean, look at her, she's perfect. She's got it all together. She's doing all these things. And of course, that's her life, but that doesn't work for me. The amazing thing about neurospirituality is that it works for all of us. The truth about prayer is that prayer is available to every one of us. It is part of the human experience, and it always has been. If you flip through the pages of the Bible and you wind up 3,500 years ago, in the days of David and the psalmists, you will see that they had the same conversations with God that we have today. And it's not because they were super saints or super spiritual, but because they were trying to find the ability to change their minds, to change their view, to change their lives. They were seeking God's transforming power in the same way that we are. We all have the same resources. We all have neurospiritual resources, and we all have neurological resources. We can all pray, and we can all think. You see, I think that's what agnos is. I think that's what the word means. I think it means that we have this special privilege. We have this special opportunity. We have this sacred right, this sacramental invitation to do things differently, to demonstrate the difference, and tell people and show people that there is a better way. There is a different way. There is another path. And this is exactly what Philippians chapter 4 invites us into when it says, think about such things. Whatever is true and whatever is respectable, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable. If anything is worthy of outstanding consideration, think about such things. And it's in the middle of this battle, as the protests are raging, as we're being pulled toward the edge to fall into the abyss of our self-destructive and corrosive thoughts, the Apostle Paul reminds us in 2 Corinthians chapter 5 that even though we are in this battle, we are not defeated. And we take every thought captive. That's good theology. It's almost as good as the theology from that great musical theologian, Julie Andrews, who famously said, when the dog bites, when the bee stings, when I'm feeling sad, I simply remember my favorite things. And then I don't feel so sad. See, it's in your head now, isn't it? That song is stuck in there. When copper kettles and mittens and kittens with mittens and it's how it happens. But when you're tempted to get onto that freeway of corrosive and self-destructive thoughts, when you're interrupted by those thoughts of self-loathing and self-doubt, when the protest comes upon you, don't be unprepared. Bring your own signs. Bring your signs to the protest. Sign that says, the best is yet to come. The sign that says, there is hope. And the sign that says, God's got this. It's time. It's time. It's time to take a stand.
Something about my life. I'm a product of perceptions and time. But I can't go on like this anymore. You are the only one who knows what you do. Thoughts and dreams and goals have fell through. But I can't go on like this anymore. So stand up, would you help me stand up? Stand up, would you help me stand up? And we have got to learn to disagree. Somehow manage to stay free. But we can't go on like this anymore. Stand up, 'cause I can use a hand up, back up to my feet. Stand up, would you help me stand up? Try to keep my chin up to see what you can see. Stand up, would you help me stand up? 'Cause I could use a hand up to stand by who you are. Help me understand you, so I can stand beside you and understand.
May we do such things this week. God, help us. Help us dwell on you. Help us change our brains. Help us run the race. I'll be with you guys. Wherever you go this week, may he be with you. May you know he's with you. God bless y'all. You're free to leave. We'll see you next Sunday. We're going to just keep playing for a little bit. You're welcome to stay.
His wonderful face. When the things are over, we'll grow strangely dear. In the light of His glory.
look full in your wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of your glory.